find out, because all of the same people that you're talking about, whether it's young people, whether it's older people, when it's a new sneaker that's coming out at 12 o'clock or a new album is being dropped and you got to download all the stuff and read the definitions, and you got to click the boxes and be ready on one line and then get on another, all that stuff. We figure that stuff out because that's what we want to know about. So we have to also take responsibility for that.
Mm-hmm.
I and that's when I was. It's going back to, like, especially with the young. I want to ask Rashid and Jada, because this question, especially with the young black man, like, it has to be a why. It has to be something to motivate them to want to do it, right? But like you said, Hill, not knowing, it's impossible to have a why when you're not knowing what's going on. But Jada, it's so many like guys like us in our neighborhoods that don't understand why we should vote. From somebody like you that they look up to and they listen to all the time, what would you tell them?
Why?
Why
I
they should
couldn't
vote?
Go
help it.
listen to the
I couldn't
song.
help it, kids. I couldn't help it. Why?
Yeah, I think it starts in the community first. You got to learn. It starts in the household. It starts in the community. It starts on a smaller level. I was like you for a long time, Steve. I was, I was doing my thing in the hood, really feeling like whoever's in office, it ain't gonna help us out. That's how you start off feeling, coming from where we come from, and then you start learning. Fortunately, they had government still in school when I was in there. You can learn a little bit if you cared. You know what I mean? If that took your interest. But me, for the most part, my mom worked in the polls. She called me today, Jason, when you come from the gym tomorrow, I could get you right in. So I think having good parents, that, especially my dad, is one of them people that sit down and just talk to you all day about taxes and things of that nature and better in the world and how I should better myself. So, what I mean? Not all of us are fortunate to have that. So if you could touch a young person in the hood, or go to the community center, or go to a high school, or go to a juvenile center or town hall, and just let them know that you do this also, that a lot of times helps and gets them on the journey of wanting to even start to learn of what voting is about and who to vote for and how to fill out a ballot and where they should register and where they should go. There's a whole process of things that a lot of the youth is scared to even ask somebody, or even, what I mean? They want to know, some of them don't, but it's all that other stuff that strays them away. So it's on us to try to help them one at a time or a couple at a time.
Yeah, I'm with Kiss, and it kind of, Tamika, what you brought up makes a lot of sense, right? Like, what do we do when we don't know? And for a lot of us in our communities, is whatever our parents tell us, and for a lot of us, is whatever our mom said. And it's like, yo, you going in there, you voting straight down the line, right? Without any education behind it. But I think that's why the education in the process is so important inside of schools. Being a teacher, it's not being taught, but in the homes, it's not being taught as well. And so if they don't know, then you have to, number one, break it down to a point where, like, yeah, this is a national election, right? And you may feel like, hey, whoever I vote for won't change for me. But like on the local level, that definitely is going to
Will.
change for you, right?
Facts.
So you need to know who your town supervisor is. You need to know who the DA is. You need to know who's running for attorney. You, like, these things will affect you directly. Like, we're looking at tax codes. There are propositions that are going to happen. Like, that's going to affect you on a daily basis. Whereas it's the national election, very important. And we've been saying this all day. Inaction is not the course of action, right? Like, we can't have no change. Like, if you want to have change, you have to take action. And so the voting process in itself, you have to make it feel important. And how do you do it? I love what y'all did. Like, Philadelphia is an important place. We spoke about it earlier. That's going to be an important place. We need to get people to see why it's important. Durham's an important place. When we start showing people why it's important on a local level and how it transforms into a national level, then they'll take pride in it and understand a little bit better.
Yeah,
Well, I
and,
think
and if I could just say one more thing about that, even um, before elections, a lot of people tell you what you should and should not vote for, right? So I was looking at all the activist pages, and they were saying vote no on a number of these propositions because, it has to do with Eric Adams, the mayor, and people have issues with him one way or the other. And so they were like, don't vote yes on a bunch of things. But one of them, and I could have just done that, right? Because, I could pretty much follow that. I support the activists. I support what they're saying. But when I went and read the propositions, there was one that talked about forcing building owners and restaurant owners to put garbage inside of the bins, and to, to be able to close the bins, not having them spill with garbage spilling all over and chicken bones all over the ground. Well, I voted yes for that, against what everybody was telling me, because I want to see that the rats in New York are reduced. If not, somehow we can get rid of them. Like in the daytime at 1 o'clock, people are seeing rats in the nail salon and other places around the city, which is never a thing. It used to be only late night, and now it's turning into a thing that's happening in the daytime. So I chose to vote yes on that proposition. And I'm saying that to say I didn't follow what everybody told me. My more bougie friends were telling me that I should vote yes on a bunch of things because they like this and this budget and that, different ideas that they had. And I didn't listen to them either. It's up to you to make decisions about what's best for you. But to the point that Troy is making, you have to show up to even know what's there for you to choose that has to do with your community and the issues that are important to you. Some people live in communities where there are no rats. Actually, I'm one of those people, but I do work across the city. And when I go into a housing projects and know that there are kids that are living in buildings where rats are literally running around their apartment, that's a problem. And I am someone who decided that I'm going to break away from my crew, which is all the folks on the ground, and do what I think is best based upon what I read and the information that I was able to discern.
Mm-hmm.
I think that also we have to do a better job of understanding politics. Like money controls everything. So I think like black people a lot of times, especially young black men, they don't see the purpose in participating in the political process because they still in the same place that they always been in. And it's like, a lot of people come with Trump like scare tactics, but they're like, it's not really resonating with them because it's like, okay, how bad can it really get? Like we've already been through so much in this country. Like you're saying, like this is the most important election ever, but that's set every 4 years. So they feel like every 4 years they're gonna come, they're gonna go to church, they're gonna knock on doors, and 4 years later, we still gonna be in the same position. So I feel like it's important to fully educate people for 4 years, like democratize the access to information and really do this on an ongoing basis, not like just the election cycle, but also it really comes down to super PACs. Like we don't really even have any black super PACs. Like we got a lot of black millionaires, a few billionaires, but politicians only respect money. Tamika, you know that. So it's like until we really start putting money behind campaigns
Mm.
and start putting money and holding these people accountable, it's not honestly, it's not going to matter. And
Absolutely.
that's what other communities do. You see APAC, if Jamal Bowman starts going out against Israel, they got him out of there. $20 million, and he's no longer going to be in office. So I feel like it's just like it's an ongoing cycle where people are just getting frustrated after a while, and it's just like that's why people's even turning to Trump because they're like, well, I'm willing just to roll the dice because my life hasn't gotten any better under any other administration, so let's just give it a go. But I feel like the greater we did the marching already. Now we gotta really get strategic with money, putting money, taking emotion out of it. It may be supporting a Republican candidate if they're gonna support our agenda. Like it can't just be blind loyalty, and it can't be emotion. Like if we're not gonna come together and really put finances behind this, it's never really gonna work out for us.
I agree.
But the difference this time is that this is not your usual regular election. So we don't have
Right, it's not a regular Republican.
Yeah,
we're
we ain't
talking
got
about.
time to go, I'm a vote. Like it's do or die, literally. That slogan should have been this campaign, because it's literally that. Because if Trump gets in, we will never be able to vote again. That's the difference. So all of that talk and it's amazing,
I'm just saying,
right. But
Right,
at this point,
that's
it's different.
people because they always say that, and they said that last time with Trump, and it's like, so I'm with you, but I'm just saying I'm trying to get people because people understand like why is young black men not voting? Why they not? But I'm trying to get them. I'm like, you got to put yourself in their shoes.
Right.
In order to
And another
Mhm.
thing too, to their defense, they don't know what a dictatorship looks like.
Mhm.
They don't
Mhm.
even. I said that to this one young brother. He was like, "What is that?"
Mhm.
Hey, But then,
Yeah.
but then again, you got young brothers out here too. Like they smarter than we think. You know, when you see all these hate laws and stuff getting put in for other races and other groups, like they see all this, nothing has
Oh
been
yeah,
done.
absolutely.
Like they get turned off from this shit.
Yeah, but that,
they're not stupid.
but Stack, it's also a lot of misinformation, right? Because
That too.
there are hate crime laws that do apply to Black people right now in this country, and there are reasons why the Republicans supported the Democrats in passing the Asian. It's not called the Asian hate crime bill. It was the COVID something something something, which impacted the Asian community, right? And there's a reason why it was supported because Mitch McConnell's wife is an Asian woman, and they were able to get the Republicans to get behind it. But that misinformation is not being shared. And I'm going to be honest, and I put this at the feet of all the brothers who are on here. Y'all are already doing an amazing job, and I hate to ask you to do more. But there is more work to be done to talk to and to help our young brothers and to provide spaces where they can get real and true information. Because let me tell you something. I know as a woman, and Angie knows this, Taraji, I see them. We out in the street, we hustling in the corner, like, what we gonna do? Da, 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 da. Angie's telling me and Taraji, like, why do I want to talk about this shit right now at this second? Like, come on. You know, like we do that. And I go into spaces. I did a podcast today. We taped it. It was with I Swear Vezo. And you know, there's been a lot of conversations about who he supports and who he doesn't support, if he's with Trump, if he's not, and whatever. But we were talking today, and I credit Marvin and this group a lot for bringing Icewear and me together before. So he and I have been sort of debating a little bit back and forth. He invited me, since I'm in Detroit and also my son, to come and sit with him today. And for over an hour, we discussed issues. And he was talking about how some people feel like that Kamala Harris is not like just because she's a woman. And I was telling him about the trauma, the unaddressed trauma of Black men as it relates to their relationship with Black women it's not been addressed. With us as women, I can call Taraji and Angie and say, I'm drowning. I can't take it in. What you gonna do? They're gonna come to my house, take my kid, take my granddaughter, clean up, let me cry. I get all my emotions out, and no one looks at me as less than because I'm able to express that. Perhaps you all who are on here have one another, but I swear, looked dead in my face and said, I don't have that. As a Black man, I don't have it. And I see a lot of other young Black men that don't have safe spaces to be vulnerable, to get real information, and they need that, so that when these moments come up with someone, in my judgment, I don't know whether we C4, C3, nonpartisan or partisan tonight. I'm in so many spaces, I don't even know whether we're supposed to say Kamala Harris and Trump's name at this point. But I'm talking about Tamika Mallory, my
It's the night
opinion
before election. We gotta let it go, Tamika.
I gotta say what I gotta say tonight. But I don't know what, but there is a manipulation that is happening right now because people see that Black men have been mistreated by the Democratic Party and too many others. The Democratic Party has done a terrible job of approaching and engaging Black men, and particularly masculine Black men feel disassociated from the party. And so, looking for a home, as you say, people are playing on that. They know that Black men have become sort of like a prey. And so, I feel like we have a responsibility to figure out, what do we do to provide space to have those real conversations that's not just about how many females you banging, or, you know, free my brother, you know what I'm saying? Or just a conversation about getting money or getting whatever. Like there need to be more spaces where where Black men can feel vulnerable to speak their truth, and to be hurt, harmed, and let it out and get some healing mechanisms. I gotta go, y'all. I love
I
y'all
love you.
so much.
Love you too.
You're gonna just drop that on them and get off the call?
I love
But
That's
let me
why
tell
they
you.
got problems with women.
Well, I'm about to open up. You leaving us?
Let me
I got-
let me
She's gonna
tell
lay it all on the
because-
table for you and then leave you. You see what she did there?
Let me tell
Exactly
you,
what I
man,
expected.
because we had you know she said we couldn't sign in, but we had Kamala on our show, and my thing was asking her about mental health, because that's big for Black men. I talked to how can do she have any plans to put in some type of help or action to people who are on the ground, who doing actually ground roots, who's doing stuff for the community, who's in the communities like 19 Keys, like Zeke and New Era. There's so many guys that's actually on the ground that's doing the work that need to be done, but they don't get no funding. They don't get no support. They don't even get talked about. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's why I brought it up to it, because exactly what Tamika was saying, to help our youth, to give guys this education, the people that's actually doing the real work that need to be done to get us ahead and to educate these guys, they're not being supported. And that's where the mental health comes. We can start supporting the people that's actually doing the work to educate the youngsters, then that'll help us out. That'll get us a long way.
And there's so many groups out there, the community violence intervention groups. I got Pastor McBride. We sitting right here in this production van, and he was saying the CVI groups, they exist, right? There are spaces. You know, thinking about Erica Ford's group in Life Camp out in Queens. There are spaces. A.T. Mitchell. There's so many people I can name. There are spaces, but they don't necessarily get the support and the funding. I don't care if you have $25. If you donate that every single month or every 2 weeks to an organization, it helps them to be able to keep the lights on. I love y'all. And let me tell you, November 6th is when the real conversation begins.
Absolutely.
Because as has been said by Troy and Rashard, we got to be dealing with our money. But what we now know, or we understand, our money is connected to our politics. Our marching is connected to how we bring attention to our politics. So we've got so many things to connect, and that's what we need to be focused on.
That's on November 6th, but before you leave us some words for November 5th.
Man.
What is your call to action tomorrow?
The call to action is, if you're waiting to wake up in the morning and say, oh my God, my funny Valentine or my boo, my girlfriend or my guy that I love is who I'm going to vote for, it's not gonna happen. You're not gonna be in love. It's not gonna be somebody you excited about. It's gonna be somebody you might not even really like that much. Their policies might be a little off, but they align somewhere with your moral compass. And that's what we're talking about. Where's your moral compass sit, and who can you accept and say, you know what, this person is somebody that I will vote for, because we have a lot more in common than we have that is opposite. And I always tell people, you know that Tamika Mallory is going to be outside. We're going to be protesting. We're going to be showing up. We're going to be shutting the streets down no matter who's president. And so if you really, really, really want to be about it, if you say that you're frustrated, you're tired, don't go home after you vote and complain and stick your lip out, or after you don't vote and stick your lip out and say, see, told you wasn't nobody going to do nothing. Nah. We're the ones who are responsible for making them do what they say. And this space that Marvin has been bringing together is people who have never been together, who are now sitting down to have conversations about politics, about money management, about all of, social justice. And that's the kind of spaces that we need to keep going after an election, and not allow it to be driven only by who's running for office.
Well, I just hope whoever you vote for, you ain't voting for the dictator.
Right. Well, there's that. You said the dictator. I would have stopped before the T, but that's another thing. Peace, love y'all.
She know how to exit. She know how to enter a room. She know how to enter a room, and she know how to exit a room. Is there anybody that wanted to jump in back to what we were talking about before Tamika got in, which is the why? Why is this election so important? Why is tomorrow so important? Anybody want to share their why they went to the polls this year? Why?
For me, it was really crazy because slavery is on the ballot in California. And that's like...
Wait, what?
Yeah.
For prison.
Oh, for prison. Wow.
Yeah. But I think California, Nevada, a couple other states, but just that alone is like mind blowing. And I feel like people think that, their one little vote isn't going to matter, but, small change leads to big change. And it's so important outside of just, the presidential election, is that we really stand up for our communities and our neighbors and our loved ones, and the people in our families. And we, take the time to exercise and utilize our voices, and to understand that every single vote matters. And I just encourage everybody to get out there.
All right, guys, I gotta go. I love you. I gotta go. Sorry. I don't want to be rude. I love you. Take care.
Did you vote already, T?
I've been voted.
Oh,
I
you
voted. I done been out the country and back and voted before I left. I'm all in and accounted for. I done checked and everything. They already said I'm counted for.
tell the people, talk to the people who haven't voted before you leave.
Look, when we look back on history and everybody go, what did you do to save the democracy? Are you gonna be proud of what you've done? Because I know I will. Because I know people laid down and died for us to be able to even get on this Zoom together tonight and talk. So it's not time for nobody to put the torch down. Somebody laid down and gave up their life for you to be able to live and be free. It's not time for you to put the torch down, get up off your ass and do something. Fight like your ancestors did. I'm out, y'all.
We love you, T.
I also wanted to add really
talk
quick.
to you on November 6th.
Angie, I wanted to add, if anyone feels like it's too late, certain states you can actually register to vote on election day. So just a reminder, there's a lot of information out there.
Yeah, that's funny. Because when we were in North Carolina, I didn't realize that when we were going door to door. That was one of the things that they were telling the people at the doors is that you still could register the day you vote. Which I thought was so interesting. I didn't realize that up until that point, for sure. What about you, Marseille? What brought you to the polls? Is it just your responsibility? It was mom on you? Like what because you're 21? Oh, you're not 21. What are you, 20?
No, I'm not 21. I'm almost. But I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Your voting age. Like, so what is the why for the voting age of why you got out voted early too, by the way?
Well, I mean, honestly, it really just feels like okay. It feels like a movie, but it's real life, and it's so terrifying, and it's almost like the villain against like it feels crazy to me, and I think that
it feels obvious, right?
It feels, yeah, and it's like, huh? So, I think for me, like it's so interesting because it kind of just happened to where I just got the energy of like, you know what, we got to do this, we got to be out there, we got to use our voices. And I was excited to vote for my presidential election when I was able to even do midterms because I was hyped, and I was excited for this moment. And
got your little sticker.
Yeah, I got my little sticker. Like, it's something that I think is so special, and it's something that is so pivotal in like in our age group. But I also think too, like, as a young adult, you either know or you just don't, like, or you don't know at all. And I think that TikTok has helped a lot. It's surprisingly, because you would be surprised because like there are actual young people out there that are in these debates and are in fighting for our rights and making sure people at least know, if you are an undecided voter or somebody who just doesn't really know what they want to do. I'm
sure like Hill was saying, some people who don't even understand the process.
Exactly.
What does the process look like? What is that experience like? I'm sure there's people on TikTok that would be glad to
for sure. And there's lots of people that would be happy to explain because surprisingly it is fun. It is something that if you it's something that you can genuinely be into and you can understand and know, and it directly affects you. Whatever happens is going to directly affect you one way or another. You might not feel it immediately, but somewhere in these 4 years of this new change, you're going to feel it and you're going to see it. So I think things like that actually help me figure out how to use my voice. And of course, with all of us, we have a platform to be able to, say what we want and use it for the greater good or be with our peers to, work together. But, I think it's also exciting, to vote for somebody that you share the same values with and be able to support, fully. So yeah, it's funny because I found myself talking to like my aunties and like grown people about why they need to vote, and they're like, "So, is this true?" Because like a bunch of the things that are out there, it's like, yeah, it's true. It sounds fake, but it is. It's like it's real. It's like a real thing that is on the line right now. So I feel like everything is super important. Everything is at stake, and it might not feel like it now, but it will surely feel like it after tomorrow. So I'm immensely grateful to just be able to be in a position where, I have an amazing family that we're having these great conversations with. That's super important. And talking to my friends that has just of a bolder voice as I do. It's important, it's important. And I feel like we all just need to get out there and somehow make it fun. Y'all can figure it out. That's what I would say. Y'all can figure out how to like pull your homies up and make it a whole thingy thing. Like how we watch the election, how we'll watch is exactly how we'll watch like the BET Awards or something. We will figure it out, and I think that's important. We got to change our mindset on how we look at this, So I think that's just the first and foremost thing to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
To go back to what you were saying, Hill, like what do you tell it? Like, what is your spiel? What is your thing? What are you telling people who are not engaged how to get engaged? Or
well, to me, it's like what Rashad and Troy were talking about. You talk about, particularly with young brothers care about how they're going to build a life, how they're going to make money, how they're going to build business or investments, or how they're going to get those things done. And so once you start connecting the dots between politics, representation, and getting paper, it starts to make sense quite really quickly. Now, the point that Rashad was making about the fact that we really don't have any major super PACs, we really don't have any major lobbying groups and in the real backdoor deal money control entities in a way that moves the meter is problematic. But and Citizens United is what caused that, which is a Supreme Court ruling in 2010 that basically allows for unlimited dark money to come into politics, right? And basically that they call it an independent expenditure, which is really a super PAC. PAC stands for Political Action Committee, right? And basically it's unlimited dollars can come in.
I cut you off. Tell them your experience, how much money they offered you.
Okay. So they offered me $20 million to target a candidate in Detroit, in the Detroit area, to take her out. They had the target on the back of Jamal Bowman in New York, Cori Bush in Missouri, and Rashida Tlaib in Detroit, Dearborn. And so I was offered $20 million to go after her, just like they offered the brother Wesley Bell in Missouri, who took the money, took the deal, targeted Cori Bush, and they took her out. So he's now going to win tomorrow. And they spent that money, same money on his race. And they did the same thing to Jamal Bowman in New York. I refused the money. I'm not going to take somebody out just because I'm going to be the puppet of a political action committee that has a political agenda. In this case, it was AIPAC. And I don't want to take us down that rabbit hole because that's what it is. But the point is that's really what's happening. And so if you know that you've been put into office by a certain entity, that's who you're going to listen to. And we cannot make the same mistake we made in 2008 with President Obama. We thought the victory was that day, and he's making the speech in Grant Park in Chicago, people crying. It's like, and Tamika mentioned this, it's about the collective power of everybody that gets Kamala Harris into office tomorrow, right? Holding that administration accountable, and then also electing people down ballot to eventually take over up ballot. And so we have to be more strategic. We have to have this call, this exact Zoom has to happen weeks after the election to plan what we're going to demand and plan. That's what has to happen, carrying it forward. And if we are not strategic about that, then it's just an election and we're not going to see the results, just like we haven't seen them time and time. But let me just say this before, because I'm going to jump in the car, but I'm going to keep listening. I just want to say this because I looked this up. Progress is real, y'all, even though it's slow and feels incremental. So listen to what I'm about to say. 1920, white women got the right to vote. It wasn't until 1965 that Black women could vote. 1972, women could get birth control without a man. 1974, women could buy a home without a man. 1988, women could own their own business without a man. 1994, women gained legal protection against domestic abuse. 2024, a woman can be and will be president of the United States of America. So even though it feels too slow sometimes, know that progress is really being made if we keep doing the work. And that's why we got to trust in it and keep pushing. We're going to have a female
2024, we could lose the right to what we want to do with our body. So that's why we got to encourage people to go out and vote, because it could go either way. We could be very hopeful, but there's a lot of ignorance out there and a lot of people that's not paying attention to what's going on.
That's right. That's why we can't.
And it also is a very close race. The reality of it is. I mean, I feel like L'Oreal. I feel like L'Oreal. I get being hopeful and optimistic and all those things, but it's like also like we just can't like, you know, sleep late tomorrow and hope this thing goes in the way that you want it to go. I think thinking that it's a given is not smart or true, honestly.
We did that another time with him, and I remember going to sleep thinking, "Oh, we got this in the bag," and waking up terrified, like, "Oh no, how did he do this?" So I've seen a lot of people.
No one can sit it out.
Exactly, no one, and we've seen a lot of people like I said with Angie when we was out there this weekend in Durham. They were saying some people were before we knocked on those doors. Say, you know what, I wasn't gonna come out and vote, but it got to be that serious. If Mike Vick is out here, it's got to be that serious. If Killer Mike and Angie Martinez and you know Beanie Siegel's knocking on my door.
The cast of power is at my door.
Cast of power, come on.
Kane and Diane are knocking on my door randomly and
in the hood, in the project.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, so it has to be that serious.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had. Shamika's here, and who else just hopped in? Are we losing you, Hill? Or are you going to be on the phone? Right, you're going to be in the car.
I'm going to be on the phone. I'll just be in the car because I like listening to all you geniuses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're just trying to figure it out. We're trying to figure out what we could do in this last 24 hours. And I get it because Tamika's always like, it's not, you know, the day after, and Killer Mike is also always, you know, the organizing starts after the election, but like while we're here and while we're in this moment and while we have like an opportunity to make potentially, you know, shift something even by a small amount of votes and maybe one town that makes the difference. I don't know. I'm just trying to hang on to like 24 hours left. What can we do? If you had 24 hours to live. That's all.
Right? I'm gonna eat some fried chicken and get in there and tuck it. But what Hill's saying
and vote.
What Hill's saying is true, man. We have to have a commonality, right? Like a campaign promise needs to become a real world reality at some point, and so we have to really figure that part out. But there's an emotion that Marseille kind of expressed that I feel like a lot of young people express. In fact, my daughter, when we talk about our Y stack, she expressed it to me earlier when she was asking me if I'm voting, whom I'm voting for, and it was the how, right? Because when you're young, you're taught to have good character, to be respectful, to be mindful, to think before you talk. And then you watch an adult who's doing it, and 70 million people are going to vote for that. And so you kind of got to explain that, like, this is the country we live in. And so it becomes very interesting. But looking at that, when you go back to the why, we all have mothers. And L'Oreal, what you brought up is very important, right? A woman's right to choose. I have a young daughter. I have a wife. And to know that that could be something that could be taken off the table for them, in turn, the Supreme Court is something that, you know, over the next 2 to 5 years, we could see, 2 to 4 years, we could see a change again. And we've seen what's happened already. We've seen 3 Supreme Court justices be appointed. We could see 2 to 3 more. And to know that there's a party or a man who may not have the same moral standard and level of character that we all would, you know, qualify as dignified, could make that decision is very alarming. And so when you start looking at the reasons why, look at, it's a woman's rights to choose. It's a woman's issue, but it's also a man's issue, right? Like that. This is a family. I'm a father. I'm a husband.
Oh my God, that was my favorite. The Michelle Obama speech about that.
Yeah, it's important. She nailed it, right? Like she nailed it. Yeah.
Speaking to men about women's issues, because we make the mistake sometimes in just acting like it's a woman's thing, it's our thing. But you know, most men have women in their lives that they love that are greatly affected about how they're affected.
That
So
we
if
not
your
that we
mother,
just
if your
love that,
mother is
that
not well, or your wife is not well, or
right.
your daughter has a traumatizing experience, this will all affect you.
Yeah, that we love and we live with and deal with on an emotional level, obviously on a physical level, spiritual. All those things happen inside the household, right? They're not immune from those, and we're not immune from those issues because they're not directly physically happen to us, right? Like we have to live with that and the consequences of that. And so it's important. And so when people start thinking of that way, most times you feel like my vote is selfish, it's mine, I got to do with it. But at some point, sometimes your vote is not just about you, right? It's about your family, it's about your community, it's about us as a community as a whole.
Word. It's about well, for me, I don't know, not really me, but just other people that I've met, especially on this trail, like people who are undocumented, who've been there their whole life, can't vote. There's people that can't vote, by the way, for a lot of reasons, people we care about. And so, yeah, that's another thing. That was another thing that came up in a lot of the places that we went.
And hey, Angie, on that point, I just want to say in Michigan, this is something I've been trying to clean up with folks. If you have a felony on your record, if you're on probation, if you're on parole, in Michigan, you can vote. And it's important because a lot of people I talk to, they be like, man, I got a felony or I'm on probation, I'm on parole. It varies state to state. So I can't speak about other states. But in Michigan, you can be on probation, parole, you can be in jail awaiting trial and vote, right? So
how do you do that in jail?
With absentee. You file an absentee ballot.
So you know what? You can have a RICO charge and run for president.
There you go. 34.
Fair.
34.
Solid point. You might be right, Hill. Maybe we are geniuses. Look at that. We might be geniuses. That is important to know.
Guys,
there's a lot of misinformation about that.
Sorry, Angie, I have to step off because I gotta learn my lines for tomorrow because I got like a 5 a.m. call.
What you doing tomorrow, girl? What you working on over there? Can you tell us?
I'm at work. I'm at work. That's all I can say. But I will be watching the election. Absolutely.
Well, I love that you voted early. I love that it was fun for you. You're a fantastic role model. And voting advocate, and we appreciate you, man. Your voice is really important, for real. We love you and we appreciate you. Now go learn your lines.
Bye, sis.
I appreciate you guys.
Angie, I have to leave.
Love you all.
Karuchi, where are you going? Karuchi, what are you off to?
I have a doctor's appointment early in the morning. I deal with severe congestion and allergies. I'm gonna figure.
Oh no!
I gotta figure this thing out. Yeah.
Well, you voted already, so you're good to go.
So I'm good to go, but I hope you guys get out there too. Do your research. Again, you can still register tomorrow if you're not registered. There's a lot of information out there. Polling places open up at 6 a.m. to about 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm almost ashamed because I've been like going to cities and telling people have your voting plan and go early, and that was my plan. And I was in North Carolina, and I was like, when I get back this weekend, I'm gonna go early on Monday and go do it. And I went today, and in my city, in my area, early election ended yesterday. And I missed that in the small print because I had all the locations of the early, and I was gonna go early and do it. And I went there today, and there was a big sign that said, no, ma'am, you missed early voting. So I will be at 6 a.m.
tomorrow. You still
no. I'm gonna go 6 a.m. tomorrow. Going first thing tomorrow to try to avoid some lines. Which I'm just being honest that this was not my plan. This was not my voting plan. But this goes to show you that this is why it's important to have a voting plan because things go wrong.
Absolutely.
Things go wrong. You get, or sometimes people try to make it go wrong for you. There's all types of things in place to deter people from voting in certain areas. We've been hearing a lot about that too. Has anybody experienced any of that? Any stories of that? Of anybody on the call? I'm sure, Hill, you've heard at least of some of this.
No, a couple people got turned away in Detroit at the polling location that I go to, and what they have to do is number one, you can always demand a provisional ballot no matter what. Like it doesn't. Because in theory, you should be able to vote without an ID. if you don't have your ID with you, if you're an eligible voter. So they'll you'll have to write down and give your information and sign something, but you get a provisional ballot. That ballot gets counted once someone verifies that you're an eligible voter, even if you don't have your ID with you. So don't let anybody turn you away saying, man, you don't have an ID or your ID's expired or this doesn't work. No. Say, okay, well, I want a provisional ballot. And then you get to cast your ballot. They check your registration status and that ballot will be counted.
I also have to jump, but I wanted to say, as a young brother, like I've sent my ballot in from New York because I'm from Atlanta, so I wanted my vote to go there. I'm really focused on like impact, and that's something you guys were talking about earlier. You know, young black men or just black men in general connecting to voting and et cetera. I think it could just be a generational thing, but I have a lot of thoughts on a lot of things, but most importantly, if it's all like right now, it is about just voting. So I did that, but I've been traveling more, you know, for different reasons, and I'm meeting all sorts of different people with different perspectives, and I'm hearing like who's the right president for the world based on the wars going on and like those type of issues, and then who's the right president for your neighborhood and your community could be two different answers, and that was a hard, that was the way that even it just shook my whole.
That's a hell of a question. That's a hell of a question.
Because it's like, what exactly are I don't look, I know who I'm voting for and I know why I'm voting that way, but there is also there's also another reality to it that it's just like, what are we doing after however this goes tomorrow, or this week? Because we're having this conversation today, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, there was another point that was brought up earlier. It's like we there's so many things that's almost like just calling ourselves out here. It's almost like we care, but we're almost faking the funk in a way, you know? Like how do you expect to be the greatest actor in the world and you never practice your lines, or you're the greatest singer, but you never like, or in vocal rehearsals? How are you gonna have the best show in the world, but you never practice with your dancers, you know? How do you build the best car? And as a community, I feel like I just feel like there's a lot of work internally, to be done. And I don't think that has like it reflects in so many different ways. And I think the presidency, or like who's who's representing us in our neighborhoods, are just another way that it's like a mirror on us as a community. And it's so being on here and listening to everybody talk, those are my emotions, like listening. It's like I'm looking in the mirror at me and I'm like, what am I doing in general to help overall? And I actually know what I'm doing, but even still, like the
That's
patient.
a great question for all of us to ask ourselves, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm trying to figure out. I admire what we're doing right now. I'm curious how it's gonna go. I know I'm doing my part, and we have influence, but even still, like actually getting somebody to like get up and go vote, they have to understand like why they need to do it, and they have to make that decision to go do those reps, to hit they push-ups, and you know yeah, I mean, in general, you know what's going to happen is going to happen, but stand up for yours. If there's if there's ever a time to stand up, I would say now is the time, based on what I'm reading or being told secondhand. To be honest, like conversation is, oh word, this is what's going to happen. Never leaving the like dictator for real. Is that even possible? If he gets into office, could he actually, is that a real thing, or is that like a fear? Is that something he's saying he wants to do? Could he actually accomplish it? Also with the world, with the wars going on, and like I said, those perspectives is just, I know which way I'm gonna go, and for my reasons, because I the battle I fight and the battle I walk is the existence I live in right now. So I'm gonna focus on what's best for my community. But also there's a world that we live on. There's people that's planning on getting off this thing. You know what I mean? There's so many elements, honestly, where my mind goes when it comes to issues, and I think presidency is obviously one of them. But hey, it's a fight that I'm participating in, that you guys are participating in. I got to jump, but I'm happy to be on this call. I saw a lot of you at the White House not too long ago with Erica Ford and Marvin. And yeah, this is the beginning of a fight. We in it, you know what I'm saying? Bite down. You know what I mean? That's how I feel right now. We biting down and I'm still swinging. You know, I know we're still swinging, but we got to figure out how to swing together, you know, in this fight. We got to listen to the corner and, you know, knock out our opponent. That's how I'm feeling right now. So,
Did you vote already?
yeah, I sent in my ballot. So,
oh yeah, you said that. You said that. You sent it in for Atlanta,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, thank you for that, man. Appreciated that.
All right.
For sure.
I'll see
Is there
you.
any? We're getting ready to wrap soon, man. But I don't know if there's anything anybody wanted to leave people with. I mean, we're 24 hours out. Tomorrow's the last day. Tomorrow's election day. I don't know. Is there anything you want to leave people with?
I just want to touch with this, Ange. What he was talking about, and Hill and everybody else kind of touched on it too. There's more work to be done after the election, right? And you can't complain about your community if you're not gonna get out there and actually do something in your community. Yeah, you can vote all that, but get out there and take care of them. If you got a problem with somebody, if you're dealing with somebody with mental health, you want to help them, get in the mental health area and deal with that. Like you can't say that you want to help your community and want to be there and you're not actually getting out there besides voting and doing the work, right? So I've been in 29 states that I'm not even from to give back and try to help communities. Do your part in every area that you care about. Don't just worry about voting. Do your part in your community too, because that matters as well.
Word.
Yeah.
Not everybody.
Anyone else? Nathan, I feel like we didn't really give you we didn't give you your moment tonight.
Oh, it's so good. I was just listening. But I just feel for the youngins, I feel like we get so used to being our parents' children that they do everything for us. So we're kind of like, okay, the lights are on, we got food, we got clothes, we're chilling. Like whatever they do is we're gonna be straight. And then we start getting older and we start realizing like, oh, we got a voice. Like we can actually, you know what I'm saying, talk about something, or we can actually be a part of change. And for me, I have a grandmother that's 99 years old, and I go there and I sit down and talk to her, and there's things that she'd be like, "Oh, life is amazing." I'm like, "But grandma, this person just went through this and this and this and this," but like just seeing her life is amazing, which is life is amazing because the things that we fought for is happening. So it's like, oh, okay, I get what you mean. Now it's like I grab a baton. Let me fight for some things. So for the future, there we can be like, okay, we fought for this for you guys to be able to have the rights for these things. So I just think, like I said, for the youngest, just reminding them that we do have power in our voices. You know, sometimes we like to be quiet and let the grown-ups speak because we want to respect y'all and we also like to listen. But just remind the kids like we are the youth, we are the future. You know, our voice matters. So many amazing people like Dr. King, John Lewis, Franny Hamer that's fought for us and to be in this position today. So just to, carry that baton and really just go out there and fight. And I always tell people it's like going to the grocery store. Like you can choose what type of milk you want. You know what I'm saying? Like it's nobody else's choice, it's your choice. And just doing research and finding what matters to you, whether it's education, criminal injustice, healthcare, like climate change, like figure out what you're passionate about and doing your research and studying. And I think sometimes we get afraid because we feel like, okay, we don't have a voice or our parents or the adults, you guys are going to handle it. But I think, like I said, just realizing that we do have power to make a change. And like Shanique said, you're doing your reps. You don't go to the gym to get buff. That day you take your time, you work out, and you were like, okay, I messed up that. Let me learn this time. Okay, cool. Let me add this. Okay, cool. Let me add these shoulders. Like, okay, cool. I know what I'm doing now. I'm figuring it out and I'm understanding because people think it's the wrong or right answer. It's like, what makes sense to you? And I love how y'all said, is it what makes sense to your community? And, you guys are continuing to fight for us. You know what I'm saying? Y'all had bad credit for us to have good credit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like now it's like we gotta take.
I don't know if Troy or Rashad ever had bad credit, but that's a whole other.
No, but I'm saying, like, I see my mom, you know, she hustling. I grew up in a single parent home, so I'm seeing her hustling and just take care of everything. So now I'm learning, like, okay, cool. Now it's my turn to really step up as a man and really, like, you know, take care of that. So that's what I'm learning, and I like to soak it all in. So
I love that. I'm sure you make them very proud. I'm sure you make them very proud, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for your time. I got to get up early because I missed early voting. So I have to get up at 6 a.m. to hit that line tomorrow.
That's a fact.
We encourage you. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Whoever's watching on the Zoom, we encourage you to do the same. Obviously, that's what this whole conversation was about. Thank you to everybody on the panel, my co-host, Stephen. Thank you to Marvin and Mobilize Justice, Vote or Else. Election day is tomorrow. Everybody get to it. Have a great night. We'll see you on the other side of this thing. And then, we'll continue to work on November 6th.
Awesome.
Let's make history, y'all.
Good night.
Vote or
Vote or else. Vote or else.
All right, y'all. God bless.
This election is about us. That's right. Because there is no one like us that can help organize and motivate